Steve that went to go watch Mark Curry do his whole sitcom and then stole everything Mark Curry had. Now Steve got a sitcom where he the principal.
He stole my material on his show, so I had a beef on that.
On what show?
When he was on the bullshit talk show he had, and he did all my Halloween material one Halloween.
Says that you're still stealing his jokes.
Hey man, listen to me.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting sick of this right here.
Yeah.
Mark Curry need to grow up. Steve Harvey ain't been on stage since 2015.
You know, people want to jump up. Oh, he didn't know. He didn't steal your. So yes, he did.
Yeah.
And so that there's no need to. No one else has did that.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Curry just dropped a bombshell about why Steve Harvey is terrified of Katt Williams. And trust me, it's way deeper than anybody imagined. We're talking stolen careers, shady backroom deals, and the secrets Katt has been hinting at exposing for years. When you see what went down with Bernie Mac, Mark Curry, and every other comedian who got too close to the truth, it starts making sense.
You don't do your material around a lot of comedians. That's like stealing in front of the police.
Steve isn't just feuding with Katt, he's straight up scared of him. So what's really happening here? This isn't your average celebrity spat. The beef between Katt Williams and Steve Harvey is one of the messiest and most revealing feuds in comedy history. This isn't about petty jokes or clout, it's personal. Things exploded after Katt's now legendary Club Shay Shay interview with Shannon Sharpe. Katt didn't just call Steve out, he ripped him apart. Fans everywhere agree Katt is dominating this battle. But Steve, he hasn't exactly taken it lying down. He's been firing back with slick comments and subtle shade, but the truth behind all this might be way darker than the punchlines suggest.
I used to be a fighter, and I still got hands. They slow, but if you get up on me real close, I can still knock your mother out though.
But here's the kicker. Most folks think this beef popped off after that Club Shay Shay interview. Wrong. This feud goes way back, and things really started boiling over during the 2017 Def Comedy Jam reunion. The tension was crystal clear in one unforgettable moment. Dave Chappelle was on stage giving Katt Williams his flowers, and the whole crowd was loving it. Even Katt was laughing. But Steve Harvey? Not so much. He sat there looking tight, like he couldn't stand seeing Katt get the spotlight for even a second. Steve tried to pull the attention back to himself, saying, "I'm nervous as hell right now." But Dave wasn't letting him steal the shine.
Penny anti-ass hater and you'll never have a hater that's doing better than you. Don't get off the wall to dress so penny any-ass boy who ain't got going.
Dave kept hyping Katt up and highlighting his impact on comedy. That's when Steve, clearly irritated, jumped in again with, "But let me ask you this. When have you ever seen this many heavy hitters in the same room at the same time?" Once again, trying to shift the focus away from Katt. Fans might not have caught Steve's little power move, but people in the industry sure did. Insiders, including Mark Curry, were heated. They felt Katt deserved that moment, even though he wasn't on stage. His contributions to the game were huge, and for Steve to cut in like that, many saw it as a straight-up low blow. Some argued Steve could have at least acknowledged Katt's legacy before trying to hog the spotlight, but nope.
Well, let me ask you this. When have you ever seen this many heavy hitters all together at the same time?
Yes.
In the same room. Yeah.
Steve just had to swoop in and snatch the spotlight from his longtime rival. But the way he did it? A total mess. His clumsy attempt made it seem like he was flat out jealous of all the love Katt was getting. And here's the kicker. It wasn't just Steve acting shady. Fans also clocked Cedric the Entertainer, another comedy heavyweight, subtly trying to shift the energy too. While Chappelle was giving Katt his props, Cedric sat there nervously laughing, like he couldn't wait for the moment to be over. Then when Steve jumped in again, Cedric co-signed him with a quick yeah, almost like he was saying, "All right, enough about Katt, let's move on."
It's good to see so many funny people together in one room, all wondering the same thing. Is Katt Williams gonna show up?
Shit, I'm nervous as hell right now.
Now, to be fair, Cedric's move was way more low-key than Steve's, so most fans probably missed it. But industry insiders, they caught it instantly, and many weren't happy about it. They felt Cedric could have at least faked a little excitement for Katt instead of backing up Steve's awkward power grab. And remember, this all went down in 2017, years before Katt started publicly calling out Steve and Cedric on Club Shay Shay.
It's good to see so many funny people together in one room, all wondering the same thing. Is Katt Williams gonna show up?
Shit, I'm nervous as hell right now.
So why were Steve Harvey and Cedric the Entertainer acting like this toward Katt in the first place? Apparently, it's because both of them were terrified of him, but not in a physical way. It wasn't that they thought Katt would throw hands. Nope, it wasn't fear of a fight. They were terrified Katt would straight up steal their shine. If you go back and rewatch that Def Comedy Jam moment, it's crystal clear. Steve's first awkward attempt to grab the spotlight had him blurting out, "I'm terrified." It felt like deep down, he knew Katt had the star power to outshine him, and he just couldn't handle it.
There are 30,000 new scripts in Hollywood every year. Not one of them asks for a country bumpkin black dude that can't talk good Oba-Kaby and look like Mr. Potato Head. There ain't none.
Word on the street, Steve Harvey isn't just acting cool about Katt Williams, he's shook. Mark Curry allegedly spilled the tea, claiming both Steve and Cedric. The Entertainer are running scared because, truth be told, Katt's just a flat-out better comedian. And let's not forget, Katt didn't hold back either. During his sit-down with Shannon Sharpe, he fired major shots at Steve and Cedric. But the real jaw-dropper? Katt exposed a behind-the-scenes showdown with Steve Harvey that went down years ago. And spoiler alert, Katt destroyed him. This so-called comedy battle took place back in 2008 at the Championship of Comedy.
He did 4 comedy specials. They're so bad, Shannon, they're not available on Netflix or Tubi.
Now, the event wasn't marketed as a head-to-head face-off, but Katt? He decided he'd had enough of Steve's antics and turned it into one. He torched Steve on stage, cracking brutal jokes about him being bald and wearing a man's wig. And here's the wild part. Most people at the time had no clue Steve was secretly rocking a high-top fade wig on national TV. People were obsessed with Steve Harvey's hair back in the day. Men everywhere were jealous of that razor-sharp hairline, while their own were vanishing faster than they could book a barber. Steve's high-top fade wasn't just a haircut. It was his crown jewel, the centerpiece of his TV persona. Heads would literally turn when he walked in with that fade glistening like a trophy. So when Katt Williams went after his hair, it cut deep. This wasn't just a regular roast. Katt came for Steve's self-esteem, his confidence, his pride, and whether Steve admitted it or not, those jokes hit hard. The proof? After that brutal night, Steve eventually ditched the wig and embraced the bald look. Yep, Katt straight up exposed him, and Steve had no choice but to own it. Fast forward to now, and Steve's bald head is iconic. It pairs perfectly with that crisp mustache. But back then, he was hiding behind that wig like it was armor.
Bitch, kids are goddamn smart for me. Sassy, talking head, shaking and shit. Talk to the hand, talk to the hand.
He did all my Halloween material one Halloween. I'm watching, somebody called me and said, man, homeboy doing your material. So he did my whole Halloween run. And I know he didn't think of it. This is true stuff that really happened to me.
And here's the real kicker. According to Katt, the humiliation from that roast was so bad, it made Steve hang up his stand-up career for good. If that's true, no wonder Steve gets rattled whenever Katt's name comes up. Imagine running into the guy who supposedly ended your career. And if you think Steve's over it, think again. 9 years later at the Def Comedy Jam 25, Dave Chappelle cracked a joke about Katt, and Steve reportedly got visibly nervous. Can you really blame him? I mean, let's be real, if the guy who roasted you into early retirement walks in the room, there's no way you're staying calm. Now, let's talk about Cedric the Entertainer. His beef with Katt Williams might have been more low-key than Steve's, but trust me, it's still juicy. Most people had no clue these two even had issues until Katt spilled the tea on Club Shay Shay. Katt claimed Cedric straight up stole one of his best jokes, even after Katt warned him not to. According to Katt, this wasn't just any joke. It was his signature closer, the kind of material that had crowds crying with laughter. The bit was so iconic, BET even used it in their commercials for Comic View back in 1998. Here's where it gets messy. Katt said Cedric came to see him perform the joke at the Comedy Store. He loved it so much, he even congratulated Katt after the show.
Halloween was a trip. Halloween, we couldn't afford no Halloween costumes. Hey, kids, please.
Mama sent us down to the liquor store, put boxes on us. We didn't know what we were. I don't know what we are.
But then, plot twist, a couple of years later, Cedric allegedly jacked the joke and used it in his Kings of Comedy set, almost word for word. The only change? He swapped Katt's car for a spaceship. And you know Katt wasn't about to let that slide. He roasted Cedric too, calling him a talentless walrus who couldn't sing, dance, or write a joke to save his life. Katt didn't stop there. He went all in on Cedric, clowning his comedy specials and saying they're so bad you can't even find them on Netflix or Tubi. Now, some folks might think Katt's going too hard, but when you look at the accusations he's thrown at both Cedric and Steve, maybe he's got a point. Katt has made some serious claims against these guys, including accusing them, along with Ricky Smiley, of conspiring against the late Bernie Mac. According to Katt, Steve and Cedric acted all buddy-buddy with Bernie in public, but behind the scenes, they were allegedly jealous of him and tried to sabotage his career. Katt said Steve, in particular, was envious of Bernie's acting skills, especially since Hollywood wasn't exactly banging down Steve's door for movie roles. And it gets even messier. Katt claimed the Kings of Comedy crew deliberately put Bernie in the opening slot during their shows, assuming Steve would crush it as the headliner. But guess what? When producers started editing the footage, they flipped the script, putting Bernie's set last because he was hands down the funniest one on stage. Sounds like a wild conspiracy, right? Well, here's the twist. Katt's claims were later backed up by none other than DJ Ed Lover.
Halloween was a trip. Halloween, we couldn't afford no Halloween costumes. Hey, kids, please. Mama sent us down to the liquor store, put boxes on us. We didn't know what we were. I don't know what we are.
Ed, who was close to Bernie, said Bernie himself confided in him about Steve's shady moves. According to Ed, Bernie believed Steve tried to snatch his role in Ocean's 11 and was actively working against him. When you start piecing all of this together, it's not hard to see why Steve Harvey might get real tense whenever Katt Williams is in the room. Well, fans didn't waste time. They pulled the receipts. They dug up the exact Halloween bit Mark Curry was talking about, and yep, it looked like Steve really did jack the joke. Mark's original routine was about growing up broke and having to rock some wild homemade Halloween costumes. Funny, clever, and super relatable. That joke aired during his Comedy Central Present special and was one of his standout moments. Fast forward, and there's Steve Harvey on his show Little Big Shots telling what sounded like the exact same story. How his family had no money, and he had to wear ridiculous Halloween costumes. The delivery? Almost identical. The setup? Too close for comfort. In an interview with Willie D on the Willie D Live podcast, Mark Curry didn't hold back. He said Steve's motivation wasn't about money. It was about imitation. He believed Steve just wanted to be like him. Mark Curry. At first, Curry didn't even drop Steve's name. He talked broadly about how joke stealing runs through the comedy world, just like copying bars does in hip-hop. But he made one thing clear. In rap, artists still find ways to stand out. In stand-up, when someone steals your joke, they're hijacking your whole identity. You either defend your craft or let the thief shine off your words. That's why Curry didn't play nice. He sent a warning loud and clear to Steve. I'm a step to you if you stealing my set. I step to you.
Ricky Smiley, sit here and you said out that mouth, you stole Friday after next, the one I was in. I wish.
Now don't get it twisted. Mark Curry made it clear this wasn't about throwing hands. Talking to Willie D, he said he takes serious pride in writing his own material. He even explained how his jokes are so unique, so different from what other comedians are doing, that it's easy for him to spot when someone swipes his routines. And that's exactly how he caught Steve Harvey lifting parts of his set. At first, Curry tried to give Steve the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's not stealing my material, Curry said. Maybe one of his writers slipped it in. But deep down, we all know whose jokes those are. For Curry, it wasn't about the money. Steve got plenty of money, he said. This feels like you want a piece of me. You want to be me. And let me tell you, you ain't got enough. I'm a G in this game. You want my style? You want my shine? But Steve Harvey wasn't about to let that slide. He clapped back hard, telling Curry to grow up and stop spreading lies. Steve insisted he'd been retired from stand-up for years and didn't even know what Curry was talking about. Steve Harvey ain't been on stage since 2015, he said. Mark's just making stuff up. Still, plenty of fans weren't buying Steve's denial. They sided with Curry, saying it sure looked like Steve wasn't just inspired by Curry, he wanted to be him. Fans were quick to point out that Steve Harvey didn't just allegedly swipe Mark Curry's jokes, he also copied Curry's entire TV show, Hangin' with Mr. Cooper. And guess what? Katt Williams co-signed those fan suspicions during his explosive interview with Shannon Sharpe. Katt didn't hold back. Talking about Steve Harvey, he said, the same Steve that went to go watch Mark Curry do his whole sitcom and then stole everything Mark Curry had. According to Katt, there's a secret circle of comedians in Hollywood who've built their careers snatching other people's jokes, characters, and even acting gigs. It's shady, no doubt, but apparently in this industry, it's not all that rare. And here's the wild part. These comedians all seem to have one thing in common. They're terrified of Katt Williams. One of the names Katt dropped during the interview added even more fuel to the fire. He claimed that Ricky Smiley, another big name in comedy, was part of this same sneaky crew. Ricky didn't even show up at the 2017 Def Comedy Jam reunion, but that didn't stop Katt from calling him out loud and clear.
The problem with Friday After Next is we're trying to make a classic comedy. And this comedy involves a and rape is never funny, no matter who it happens to.
Katt didn't hold back when he started airing out his beef with Ricky Smiley. According to Katt, the drama kicked off after Smiley straight up lied. On Shannon Sharpe's Club Shay Shay, Smiley claimed he was originally cast as Money Mike in the cult classic Friday After Next. In his version, the role of the hilarious, flamboyant pimp was all his, until some last-minute switch-up handed it to Katt. But Katt called that story pure fiction. "This man told y'all he had my role," Katt said, not holding back for a second. "He said he was supposed to be Money Mike and I was gonna be Santa Claus? Let's get the facts straight. We all auditioned in LA. I was number 201, and there were 200 other black comedians in that room auditioning with me. And now Smiley wants to act like he had the role locked in and even started filming? Boy, bye." But Katt didn't stop there. He dropped a bombshell about an R-rated scene in the original script. Apparently, there was a disturbing moment where a group of guys gang up on Money Mike as revenge for something he did. According to Katt, Ricky Smiley was fine with shooting that scene if he'd landed the role. But when Katt saw the script, he shut it down instantly. Katt made it clear he was disgusted that Smiley would have been okay with filming something like that. And to make matters worse, Katt claimed Smiley had the nerve to strut around the set like he was the king of Hollywood. According to Katt, Ricky Smiley was out here trying to convince everybody he was the real star, the comedian, radio personality, an actor who deserved that Money Mike role more than Katt ever did. But Katt wasn't having it. He got so fed up with Ricky's attitude that he allegedly threw a wild stipulation into his contract. He wouldn't work with Smiley again unless Ricky agreed to wear a dress. And here's where things get even messier. Ricky's next big movie role, he played Bernice Jenkins, an elderly church lady in First Sunday. And yep, you guessed it, he wore a dress. Katt couldn't help but laugh at the irony. If Katt really had the power to pull strings like that, it's no wonder some folks believe Ricky Smiley might be scared of him. Imagine knowing there's someone in Hollywood who could basically play puppet master with your career, blocking your moves or humiliating you with a single call. You'd be shaking in your boots too. But of course, Ricky Smiley wasn't about to let Katt's claims slide. On the January 4th episode of the Ricky Smiley Morning Show, he fired back and set the record straight. Smiley insisted it was director David E. Talbert who personally asked him to play Bernice Jenkins in First Sunday.
In my contract that I won't work with Ricky Smiley again unless he's in a dress. Now, what was Ricky Smiley's next movie? Was it First Sunday? Did he wear a dress?
Smiley even gave Katt his props, praising his portrayal of Money Mike and insisting there was no shady switch-up. "I went out to audition for Friday After Next as Money Mike, not Santa Claus. That's the honest truth," Smiley explained. And Smiley dropped a little tea about the role of Money Mike, too. He claimed the character wasn't even supposed to be a pimp at first, but a broke panhandler hanging out at a strip mall parking lot. He admitted that Katt and the producers elevated the character, turning Money Mike into a flashy, scene-stealing pimp. But as for Katt's wild claim about putting a dress clause in his contract, Smiley called cap on that one. Smiley shut it all down, saying there was never any dress clause. He explained that he wore the dress in First Sunday because he wanted to, not because Katt or anyone else forced his hand. Smiley even pointed to comedy legends who've done similar roles for laughs. Flip Wilson played Geraldine. Richard Pryor did it on his show. Jamie Foxx played Wanda. Martin was Shanae. I did Bernice Jenkins. Tyler Perry does Medea. A lot of comedy greats put on characters like that for the sake of funny, for entertainment. It's about the laugh. Nobody's out here dying to wear a damn dress or feels comfortable in it, but it doesn't make anyone less of a man. But not everyone bought Smiley's explanation. Plenty of fans believe there's a darker side to male comedians in dresses in Hollywood. Some say it's an initiation, a way for gatekeepers to test or humiliate Black entertainers, weakening their image for audiences. Others think it's just part of a bigger machine built to control talent. So maybe it was never about just jokes. Maybe the reason Steve Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer, and Ricky Smiley seem so tense around Katt Williams is because he's the only one refusing to play by the rules. In an industry built on silence, one man speaking up can shake everything. And Mark Curry, he just made it clear. Steve Harvey has every reason to be scared, because when the truth comes out, it might not just end a feud, it could end a legacy. And that's a wrap for this one. What do you think? Is Katt Williams exposing the truth, or is this just Hollywood drama? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss the next juicy story. Share this with your friends, and I'll see you in the next one.